Hey, welcome to Screenplay Junkie. My name's Drew Hellmich, and I'm a screenwriter. Film is a pretty sweet medium of art. However, before anything can make it to the big screen, it must start as a blueprint, text on paper. So if you're a fellow addict of film and storytelling, come join us as we take a look at various types of screenplays, short stories, and other source material that were crucial to the creation of the stories that we all love. I must warn you, though, there will be spoilers, so I do recommend being familiar with the title that's being discussed. Sound good? Cool. Then let's get started.
Okay, so if you guys had to lose any of your five senses, which one would you give up?
I'd honestly have to go with sense of smell. The other four are very important.
It's really tough.
I'd probably go with taste, because then I just, like, ice cream, cake, you know, I would just have no interest in it. And I'd become so much healthier.
I mean, I couldn't imagine not being able to hear, just like John Krasinski's daughter in A Quiet Place.
Yeah, well, not being able to hear when monsters... the only thing they do to kill you is hear. Right. So you don't even know if you're making noise.
Exactly, right?
They'd be the first to go. The poor deaf people. The first to go.
Hey, welcome to Screenplay Junkie. This is episode number 3. Today we're going to be looking at A Quiet Place. I'm your host, Drew Hellmich. Alongside me, as always, I have my brothers, Matt and Bryan. Now, let's just get into the script details here. So, A Quiet Place. It was written by Scott Beck and Bryan Woods, who are actually, Bryan, they're both Iowa alumni.
Boys, Hawkeyes.
Yeah, honestly, when you told me that, I was amazed.
Right. Hawkeyes. Yeah, pretty cool. And they're actually they're natives of Iowa, Bettendorf. Actually, I don't know where that is, but it's just a funny town name.
Bettendorf.
Yeah, it sounds very magical.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like a place the brothers Grimm went to slay a witch.
So this script comes in at a very tight 67 pages, which is really abnormal. Features are usually between 90 and 120 pages long, so very uncommon for a feature script. And we don't have an exact date for this screenplay. However, I did some research, and I found on the internet that these two guys, Beck and Woods, they originally had created this idea when they were in college still, because they were taking a class with it was based on silent cinema, and they became obsessed with Charlie Chaplin and other directors and influential people in the silent cinema. And this is basically what just gave them the idea to write this story. And what else do we got here?
I'm just going to comment on that too. It's an amazing idea that they really had, because back, you know, in the what is it, 1910s, 20s, when they were making those movies with Charlie Chaplin, the only way to communicate any sort of language was with body language, or they would pull up those captions, right, where they would just block the whole screen with text. And I mean, that was the only way for them to communicate language back then. And now these guys had the idea to kind of bring that back in a way on the big screen, you know, in 2018 to still entertain people, and it worked.
Right.
Like, it worked to perfection.
I think it was a genius idea, dude.
I honestly was not thinking about that at all.
Yeah, I mean,
it connects very well.
They're huge film nerds. That's what this shows, but, you know.
They did their homework. They did it right, for sure. It's a fantastic idea to bank on. So it looks like in 2014, that's when they actually finished the script, because they had just been writing it and putting ideas forth, but they never completed anything.
Brian, this is super interesting. Listen up.
They never completed anything. So then in 2014, they finally finished something. And 2 years later, they were trying to shop it around, and they weren't getting any bites. So in 2016, they decided, you know what, let's just try and make this ourselves. So they actually started to begin like a prep. They started putting together a plan in order to shoot it themselves in Iowa.
The two Iowa students?
Yeah. No, well, they're not students anymore. They're probably students in like the mid-2000s.
Gotcha.
But so in 2016, they started putting a plan together to try and make this film while their manager was still shopping the script to producers in Hollywood. And this is when Michael Bay somehow got a hold of it and was like, I like this script, I'm in. So he immediately became a producer, and then along the road after they were notified that Michael Bay was on board, John Krasinski, like, I don't know how these people are getting hold, like John Krasinski from The Office, I don't know how he got a hold of this screenplay.
Unbelievable.
But he read it, and his wife, Emily Blunt, read it too, and she loved it, and she was like, I need to be in this movie. So then John Krasinski was like, all right, we're both going to be in this thing. So then John Krasinski attached himself to direct it, and then he also revised the script, which we have not read that version. We only have the original version with us today.
The original.
Correct.
Right. Matt, what's the IMDb stuff we got for this one?
Yeah, cool. So the log line that they have listed here is, in a post-apocalyptic world, a family is forced to live in silence while hiding from monsters with ultra-sensitive hearing.
See, I like this one. It honestly wraps the movie.
Really simple.
Short and sweet, man. I love it. I love the log line. Like Drew mentioned, the two big stars that powered this movie into production were Emily Blunt and John Krasinski, who are married. And the rest are just a bunch of no-names because they're all kids, the rest of the actors.
Right.
And just those random old people.
Very small cast. What are you saying, Brian?
Oh, Cade Woodward. Yeah. The name of the little kid that gets killed in the beginning is Cade Woodward.
Oh, man.
Poor little Cade, man.
What was the budget, Matt?
Yeah, okay, I was about to get into that next. Sorry.
That's all right.
So, the budget was $17 million, which honestly, to me, seems low. I thought it would be more.
Wait, how much was it?
17 mil.
17
That's it.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And
That's
gross.
What's
the box sales here?
Get your calculators out because it's grossed $188 million.
Okay.
Oh my god.
So, I mean, we're talking mad money profits there.
All right, nice.
See, what I'm curious is what do these Iowa screenplay boys make off of that?
They make 2% of the budget, roughly.
Right.
That's like an industry standard. They make 2%. Also, another standard that I should have explained earlier when I was saying that this screenplay was 67 pages long. So what that means is that one page in the script roughly translates to 1 minute of screen time.
Right.
So if you were to look at this thing just based on face value, you would say, okay, this is going to be about an hour and 10-minute movie. Mm-hmm. So I'm interested to see if John Krasinski stretched the script out to 90 pages, or maybe you didn't even have to do that just with all the action in there that just builds up time itself. Yeah.
Right. I think they definitely added quite a bit.
Yeah.
We'll have to take a look at that later. I mean, I'm interested too.
The script length was
67 pages.
You got realistically maybe like 65 because they dedicate like 4 pages for a countdown in feet.
Right.
Yeah. All right, well, let's actually save that for the next segment.
Yeah, we'll get into that later because they wrote this screenplay in a very creative way that's much different from anything else you normally see out there.
It's totally different.
All right, you guys got anything else to mention while we're at this stage of the show?
Segment 1? No, I don't got anything.
All right, then let's move on to the next one. All right, so the screenplay and the film are significantly different. We actually found there was so much content that we had to organize it down into 5 main bullet points. I think it's 5. But basically, we organized it down just to simplify it because otherwise we'd be going all over the place with this stuff. So what we've organized it to is the beginning of the movie versus the beginning of the screenplay, which will include some character dynamic stuff. Number 2 is how the description of the creature differs between the screenplay and the film. Number 3, we have the end of the movie, so the differences between the movie and the film and the screenplay rather. And then our final category is just a sporadic thing of just things that we found. So Matt, take it away with the beginning.
Okay, so just to get everyone on the same page here, I'm going to kind of summarize the beginning of the movie that we all saw. Okay, so character-wise, remember there's 5 people in this family. There's the dad, John Krasinski, mom, Emily Blunt. Then they have their eldest daughter, who is a deaf girl, a middle child boy who is sick, and a younger boy. And the whole reason, and they're at a grocery store trying to find medicine for the sick child. And what ends up happening is we notice that they're all moving quietly, they're not talking, and the youngest boy wants a rocket ship to take with him as a toy. And I think the father scolds like the kids for wanting to take it because they know that it would be loud and it would attract the alien.
It's too loud, yeah, that's what he said.
So they take the batteries out and they tell him to leave it there. But the older sister, trying to be a good older sister, takes the batteries out, gives it to the kid, and lets him keep it. But they all walk away, of course, and no one's watching the kid. Kid takes the batteries. I'm sure they maybe made it 200 steps out of that place. And next thing you know, you hear the rocket ship going off, and the kid's getting swooped and clubbed to death by a giant alien creature.
A giant alien creature.
And John Krasinski had to run like a 200-meter dash to get anywhere near his kid because.
Why was he so?
Hey, let's not question that because we're going to get into that later. We're going to get into the bad parenting later, but that's just kind of what happens at the beginning of A Quiet Place in the movie. So, I think now we want to go over what's going on in the screenplay in the beginning, right, Drew?
Yeah, we'll do that. Okay, so within the first 5 pages of the screenplay, there's so much set up in this story. There's a lot going on. So immediately we start off. So envision the film where after the youngest child gets killed, when they fast forward and the mom, now Emily Blunt's character is pregnant.
Right, and I'll butt in here too. When the story starts in the movie, it says like day 80 or something.
Yeah, day 89.
And then after the youngest son is killed, it jumps to like day 290 or something.
Right.
So there's a lot of time.
It's like 460 actually.
Okay, yeah. Well, it's like a year. Let's just say a year to be general about it. Okay, yeah, cool. I just wanted to say that. And then a year later, they pick up on the farm, which is kind of where the screenplay starts, like on a farm.
Yeah. So we have no idea how far into this apocalyptic world it is when we start off with the screenplay because So the family dynamic is that the daughter is the youngest sibling. She's the youngest child, and she has one older brother. And there's actually. Later on, you find out that there was an older sister. Okay, we'll talk about her later.
So in the screenplay, the youngest sister is the one with the hearing problem.
Yes.
With the hearing problem.
Right. And so the mom's already pregnant. And we notice things just like, just them doing things, trying not to make any noise. There's a dog with a muzzle included in the screenplay that actually has no purpose at all whatsoever.
I think that would help that.
I mean, that was interesting first glance, but did not do anything after that. Also, it's extremely evident that the daughter and the father have some sort of weird relationship going on. They don't interact well. They kind of shut each other out. Well, the daughter does, really. She shuts him out completely. And you don't really understand why until later.
Right. So as Drew mentioned, there's this conflict between the youngest daughter in the screenplay, who is the one with the hearing problem, and the father. And you find out later in the screenplay that this whole conflict is because before these creatures or aliens even showed up on Earth, there was a car crash where the family's eldest daughter was killed. And the father blames himself entirely for it, and the younger daughter also kind of blames him for it as well.
Right.
And so there's this huge tension between them, and that's kind of like introduced really early on in the screenplay, like Drew said.
Yeah. And there's like flashbacks throughout. There's 4, I think, which actually at night added. I thought it was good. That added nicely to the story. Yeah,
they did a really good job of using the flashbacks, definitely. Yeah. To introduce the eldest daughter that was deceased.
Right.
Right. So one of the big differences here we wanted to point out is that the family conflict between the movie and the screenplay is really different. Like we said, in the movie, it's between the whole family because they kind of all blame themselves for the youngest boy being killed because none of them were paying attention to him at all.
It was irritating.
The youngest daughter gave him the battery, like kind of put the batteries in front of him, so she blames herself. The sick kid doesn't really blame himself, I guess, because he was sick. The mom blames herself because she said she could have carried him, even though her hands were kind of full. She said he was like too heavy, maybe, but she could have carried him.
Right.
And then the dad blames himself, obviously, just because he was a horrible father and let a 3-year-old child walk at the end of a line in the middle of an apocalypse.
Like a football's length.
He was far away. That kid was really dragging ass.
It was ridiculous.
No one was paying attention.
It was ridiculous.
But so that's the family conflict in the movie, and like you said, in the screenplay, it's because of a death of an older sibling that happened prior to this conflict with aliens or creatures ever even happening on Earth.
Yeah.
So that conflict's been like stewing, I guess, a lot longer in the screenplay.
And they can't talk about it because if they talk, then they die.
Right.
I mean, so overall, the beginning. I mean, I I like the beginning of the movie more, just because it inserts you into the world way faster, and you just get hit. You just get hit with this blow real fast. It kind of reminded me of like the beginning of It, where just like a little kid just gets killed off right away.
That's a really good comparison.
But I mean, just from a writer standpoint, I didn't understand that. Like, if I was writing a scene like that, where I was like, okay, the parents are going to be in the front, the little kid's going to be, bringing up the back, bringing up the rear of this line, I'd be like, what? No, like. That makes no sense. Why would anybody do that?
Common sense is just thrown out the window with this family.
So you just got to go with it for there. I mean, because it was effective, but it was kind of stupid at the same time.
Yeah. They just had to I assume they just had to get the plot rolling.
Okay, let's move on to our next point. Now, a big question that we were asking ourselves after we read the screenplay was, how did the description of the creature/alien become the finished terrifying creature we see it in the film?
So, originally in the screenplay, the monster does carry a good amount of traits from the screenplay to the movie, but there's just a few things. I'm going to go ahead and read the actual word for word from the original script here. It stands on all four legs, hunched low, predatory, and dangerous. Its skin deep dark red, the color of dried blood. There are no eyes on the monster's face.
It's so vague.
I mean, I thought it was vague, yeah. I didn't know what the hell was going on.
Well, I probably just because I've seen the movie. So
no, right, that's true. That's why it's kind of hard, because you just think of what you already know.
As an outside reader, I'd probably be like, what?
Yeah, just to give everyone more information, too, that description that Bryan just read, it's given to us in the screenplay right as the creature is looking over the mom in the bathtub, having her baby, basically.
Right.
That's when you get that description. But then later on in the screenplay, you also get more information from the authors. Like, they talk about how the creature moves slow in the screenplay, which in the movie, they're like fast as all hell. So I thought that was weird.
Fast.
But in the screenplay, they also talk about the monster having claws, using sonar to detect humans. And it also says that when they would attack humans, they would rip out their vocal cords, which I thought was awesome. And then the screenplay also reveals that a crashed alien ship is in the background of the farm where the family lives, and they reveal that kind of in the finale of the screenplay. Right.
So then we actually get some backstory as to where these things came from. Whereas in the film, they're just there. You don't really understand why they're there, where they came from. You can only just speculate based on the little clippings of the headings in the newspapers and stuff. Okay, another thing that confused me about the creature in the screenplay was, so Bryan, you said it didn't have any eyes, and then later on there's a scene where it says that it can see in the dark. I didn't understand that at all.
Right.
That made no sense.
No, it says no eyes on the monster's face. So, maybe it's got eyes on its chest. Maybe it's got eyes on its arms. I don't know.
It was just really weird. I don't know why
it's got eyes on its ass.
I don't know why they included that.
He's got ass eyes.
He's got ass. Stop giving me that.
What you looking at, ass eyes? Major pain. But something I love thinking about here is you get this description of this creature in this screenplay, and then someone in Hollywood who designs monsters, or that's their job, just to create this thing. They do. I mean, they took this short description, this vague, cool, it's a cool description, and they turned it into the thing we see in the movie, which is this giant, it's obviously an alien or something from another dimension, and it's huge. And it's got dark skin, so it's not really blood-like. I didn't really see blood-like qualities in the movie. But they had those huge front arms, if you remember, those giant front arms.
Yeah, they're really powerful.
Big, sharp teeth. And a big difference we noticed, too, is they didn't use sonar in the movie, like how they used in the screenplay. Instead, in the movie, they just had these, intricate hearing organs, all over their face that would, expand when they wanted them to. Right. And they could just hear, the slightest little sound by doing that.
Yeah, quick fact on the hearing. When the crackling, when it's hearing, the sound effects in the movie, the score of it, it was made by cracking celery, and that is fact. The sound.
Are you for real?
I guess you would call them, but yeah, I watched the video based on that.
That's the creepiest sound too when they're making that noise when they're looking for everybody.
Yeah.
Sticks of celery.
Celery. Wow.
Yeah,
I'll never look at celery the same again.
The sound department went to work on that one.
That's pretty cool. That's creative.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those guys are crazy. They do a crazy amount of things to produce a sound that they need for a movie. Think outside the box.
Is that all we had on the creature?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, nice. Let's move on to the ending now.
Okay, so I'm going to start by just summarizing the ending of the movie, and where I'm going to pick this up is in the movie. the deaf girl and her brother they fall into the silo with all the corn grains, right? And they're sinking in, and the monster hears them, and it comes.
It's quicksand.
Yeah, it's like quicksand, right? They're sinking. I thought that was a really cool scene, by the way.
Yeah.
Really, really cool.
No, it was really cool.
The more they moved, the more they sunk. But anyways, the creature monster, it hears them, so it's coming, and it gets inside, and it's right in their faces. But once again, the deaf girl's hearing aid makes the creature, really disoriented, and it hates the high-pitched frequency, so it runs away and leaves them.
Yeah.
So the creature's gone now.
Second time they introduced that, right?
Right. So now the kids are leaving the silo. They find their dad, and they're like walking towards like where they see that truck, and then where the dad sees the axe, and he tells the kids, go to the truck because they hear the monster. The kids are in there. The dad doesn't go to the truck with them. He doesn't decide to hide. He grabs an axe. He goes full badass, and so he gets clubbed, right? He gets clubbed. The monster hears the kids scream because their dad gets hit. The monster's on top of the kids. The dad stands up, bloody, almost broken, and screams and sacrifices himself so that the monster will, be occupied with him, so that his younger son can flip the car into drive, roll down the hill to safety to where their mother is and to where their house is, right? And then the movie ends with the young daughter discovering the hearing aid is like their defense mechanism against these creatures. She puts it on the amplifier, and the monster is so disoriented that Emily Blunt is able to cock the shotgun and cap the dude in the face and kill him. And then the movie ends in the most
badass.
Yeah, oh my gosh, so badass. And then the movie ends in the most badass way with her just cocking the shotgun again while the other two aliens are running towards their house.
Yeah.
Dude,
I thought that ending was pretty cool.
It was a cool ending, yes.
I thought there was like 4 or 5 of them, but I don't know if you said this or spaced out, but he sign language "I love you" to the younger daughter.
Right, yeah. So before he screams to sacrifice himself, he signs "I love you" because,
which connects them having like a better relationship because the beef in the beginning.
Right, it kind of repairs the family conflict or brings it full circle. Exactly. Like they finally, were able to say that to each other, I guess, in a way. Right. A big critique I have with like the ending of the movie is kind of how he just screams, right? Like. Yeah. Just lets out that big scream. Like,
it was pretty goofy.
He could have just screamed, "I love you," or like, "I love my family," or
yeah, that was kind
Hoobastank.
That was kind of goofy.
He could have screamed Hoobastank. And I wanted to see another critique I have of the ending too is I wanted to see them killing all of the aliens at the end with the shotgun. Like I wanted to see more alien deaths, like heads popping
deaths.
off.
Yeah. So I actually like the ending in the screenplay more. This is excluding the part with Emily Blunt and the shotgun and actually killing the creature. I'm talking.
It's so sexy in that scene. Just turns it down even more.
I'm talking more about when how they dealt with John Krasinski's character dying in the screenplay. I thought because it ties in more the tumultuous relationship that the father and his daughter have. It ends it with him. He does say "I love you." How we were saying, why didn't they just keep that? Why didn't they just keep that of him saying "I love you" to draw in the creature instead of screaming? I don't know.
You could have done it. I mean, do you want to summarize too? Now that we've kind of gone over, like, reminded everyone what happened in the movie, do you want to summarize the ending in the screenplay? Because it was totally different.
Yeah, the ending.
Just quickly, we don't have to.
The ending was so in the ending of the screenplay. The ending of the screenplay, the daughter is the only one that's like. Out by herself. It's not the kid. The boy's actually with the mom the whole time. He doesn't do much. But the daughter's out there, and the father's going out there to look for her, and he's setting these, like, timers along the way to draw the creature away.
That's so cool.
Right. He has this whole plan to lure the creature with timers into a giant
into a
windmill.
Windmill, yeah.
Because, big metal doors, secure structure, he figured he could lure it in, take it to the top, rappel down the bottom, trap it in there. That was his plan.
But it breaks out still. So he does do it. He gets it in there, and he falls. He breaks his arm. And this is the creature's climbing up towards him. He repels out, and like just at the last minute, he's able to lock the door. And that's when he just starts screaming for his daughter, like, "Where are you?" And that's the first piece of dialogue in the whole film.
Right, and if we didn't say either, there's only one creature in the screenplay.
Yeah, there's only one.
There's only one.
Instead of 3 in the film.
Right.
Gotcha.
So he's screaming for his daughter to try and find her when he has this moment to do so while the creature's trapped. And then we hear, well, you don't hear it, but then the daughter chimes in saying, like, I'm over here. So then that's when they run towards each other. They find each other. And then the creature breaks out. And then they bring back this other piece. What was that piece? It was used to, like, get rid of birds in the crops. I forgot what the
it was
what
just
the
like
tool
a
was called. It was a tool,
a battery powered high frequency noise emitter that would piss birds off and make them stay away from their crops.
Right. So they're going for that because somehow the daughter figured out that it would. I can't remember how.
And the son also ends up with them too somehow. They're all together by this like scarecrow where they find that noise emitter.
And the batteries they don't work.
That was the meeting beacon that decided on.
The batteries don't work, so this is when the father sacrifices himself so his children can get away. And he says, "I love you," and then the creature kills him instead of just screaming.
And the kids are able to run away, right?
Right.
But it still then eventually chases after them. But what ends up happening is the girl takes the noise emitter with her as they're running away after her father gets killed. And she takes it to their shed, which is kind of like their basement in the movie, which is like the soundproof area for the baby. And she plugs in new batteries, hits the noise emitter, it kills the alien.
Right.
No shotgun.
Yeah, no shotgun. It just kind of like combusts basically.
Its head basically explodes.
And then at the end, it's they're in a graveyard and they're burying the father, and the baby's like laughing or like. So then now it's just like, okay, they're
able to talk and make noise because there's no creature hunting them.
That was the only part about the script that I didn't like about the ending.
But they're the only humans left. There's one creature and they're the only ones left.
I don't know. That's what was a little iffy, man, about the ending there.
Agreed.
No one figured.
The endings in both were kind of iffy. I liked certain things in one, and I hated certain things in others, like how we just described.
Random connection about just like noise killing aliens. It made me think of Mars Attacks.
Oh yeah, nice. That's true. The music, yeah.
Yeah, playing it's like the yodeling music. They played yodeling music to kill the aliens.
I wonder if that draw, they drew some inspiration from there since they...
Maybe.
Movies.
I don't know. Maybe like subconsciously.
Subconsciously.
All right, good. Are we good on the ending, guys? What do you think?
I'm cool. I like both endings, so I would have watched a movie if it was either way, or read the screenplay if it was either way. I like both.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I want to see like more out of this universe. I want to see more, like Bryan said.
I wanted to see more about the universe.
Are they
too.
the only humans? It's like, come on, there has to be other people. I want to see like when they initially came and like the soldiers were fighting them. Like I want to see that movie.
So what I'm thinking is, I mean, you know, I'm just going to compare this to Alien. I know we already did Aliens. It sounds like I'm obsessed with Aliens, but this one
there's a lot you could draw a comparison though.
This
really.
would be like this is like the Alien version, and then number 2 would be if you wanted to. That's when you have like the action packed
full scale warfare
right
against these creatures.
Yeah,
that would be awesome. Led by Emily Blunt in her super big power suit from Live, Die, Repeat with Tom Cruise. But Tom Cruise isn't in it, but Emily Blunt's still in it.
Right. All right, so now what do you guys want to move on to the scatterbrain thoughts we got here? Our last talking point.
Just like random points that changed throughout the movie.
Just things that we noticed that were different, or just things that we liked, hated.
So, like, I'll bring up a big final talking point here first. I want to start with this: the nail. That nail, because it played a big part in the screenplay and the movie. Just to kind of recap, in the movie, you see the nail first when Emily Blunt drags like a sack of food over it, and it straightens the nail out and makes it a dangerous.
Yeah.
It now is a danger because the nail is straight up.
Yeah.
And then later on, and then when her water breaks, she's going downstairs to turn on the lights to alert everyone that she's having her baby, and she steps on the nail, and then that's when the creature hears her and all that jazz. But in the screenplay, the nail is introduced on page 6 when the deaf girl, she actually goes to the bathroom and they can't flush their toilet right because it would make too much noise. So she takes this like bag of urine or...
Yeah, it was just like a biohazard bag.
Right, a biohazard bag. She takes it downstairs and there we see the nail and she like almost steps on it but misses it. And then it comes back into play later after the mom had given birth. She was carrying her baby to hide from a creature, and she walked downstairs and then stepped on it.
Yeah.
So either way, the nail was a huge bitch.
And they took that from Home Alone.
That was pretty Home Alone.
This movie is just a hodgepodge of Home Alone, Mars Attacks, and Charlie Chaplin. Actually, okay, we completely forgot about this. While we were talking about the little girl in the screenplay. So in the film, she's deaf. She's born deaf. She's always been deaf. In the screenplay, she's when she was younger, she was able to hear. And from the accident, when there was a car crash, when the older daughter was killed, that's when she loses her hearing. So this was acquired in that accident as well. I like both stances. I like both stances there. I mean, I think it worked more with just her always having it, how they did in the film.
Definitely.
Yeah, right. Money saver. You don't got to show the car accident scene.
Yeah,
exactly. No flashbacks. So another major talking point I wanted to talk about is that in the screenplay, the deaf girl gets knocked out twice, like brutally knocked out.
Yeah,
she must have been severely concussed.
The first time was like an explosion or something.
The first time was an electrical, like a shortage.
Yeah.
She was like electrocuted somehow after she was trying to like set off the fireworks or something because her mom was having the baby. She was trying to make a distraction.
Yeah.
And she got electrocuted. She was knocked out. And then the second time she was knocked out because
she jumped in the water.
Jumped into a creek.
Yeah, she was getting chased by the creature, went in the water, and then her head clips a boulder in the water.
And then after being knocked out twice, she's severely concussed. She is able to use these buttons to make a sundial to figure out what time of day it is to then figure out what direction is north.
Right.
Which is like some...
I didn't understand that
Yeah,
at
I mean,
all.
that's some like Discovery Channel shit.
And she's 8 years old. I don't know how she figured that
I
out.
don't think they would cast a big enough shadow for her to like even... Regardless of her waking up unconscious, how the hell do you survive being unconscious going down a rapid river?
Yeah, you think you would drown.
Yeah, for real.
You think you... was just meant to live.
Yeah, right.
This deaf girl.
She got
Survives a car crash.
She's got a thick skull.
Out twice.
Real thick skull.
Monster.
Yeah, and another thing that I noticed that was pretty cool was, I mean, just the creativity of the screenplay itself. It was really unique. They had a lot of figures in there, like visual figures, like the Monopoly board, because they used the Monopoly board as like as a map. So it was labeled with like their house, the shed, and like their objectives that they had when they were trying to figure stuff out to beat the creature. Mm-hmm. And there was also, like, Bryan, you mentioned those buttons that she used to make the sundial. So there were 3 buttons. What was it? One of them was a Cubs button, so that helped me. It didn't explicitly say.
I love you, Dad.
Yeah, I love you, Dad, and like May the Force be with you is a Star Wars one. Mm-hmm. But the Cubs one, like reading it, I didn't know where this took place. I could have deduced that it took place in the Midwest with just all like the corn crops and stuff, but with that added Cubs button, it helped me like narrow it down to like Illinois or Iowa.
Gotcha.
Right. And another visual thing they did in there too, if like just something you forgot to mention was we brought up earlier how the father in the screenplay had a plan to trap the alien in like a big
oh yeah,
what was it? What are they called again?
Like a
wind turbine, right? And they show you how tall a wind turbine is compared to the Statue of Liberty, because a wind turbine is 330 feet that you have to climb in a ladder straight up, and it really gave you a good visual. I feel like there.
No, yeah, that was crazy. And then also another thing that they did was they isolated words. So what they would do, or not even just they played a lot with the text. So in some instances, they would just isolate one word on an entire page by having it like super large or super small. And then other ways what they did was, I think it was 2 characters were like walking near each other, and they made like a V. This is hard to explain. They made like a V on the page with like closer, so that the 2 closer, like the 2 texts were like getting closer to each other.
It was cool.
Yeah. So
they
were
really like just the play on text they had. I don't remember exactly what it said, but I think it was just like be quiet, and it started out large, and it's like very quiet.
They did that a lot. They would go from like big text to like smaller text based on whatever was going
just, like,
on.
Really engaging. You like.
I liked that a lot. They were really innovative with it.
Mm-hmm. It's that Iowa education.
Another talking point I have is in the screenplay. Or actually, I'll talk about them. I'll bring up the movie first. So in the movie, if you guys remember, the basement has a pipe leak, and while Emily Blunt and the baby are sleeping, there's like 3 feet of water that builds up in their basement, which like happened way too fast.
I didn't understand.
It happened way too fast.
It's airtight box.
And the pipe was leaking really loud too, so Emily Blunt would have woken up. But I just felt like that happened really fast. But in the screenplay,
and John Krasinski just walked right by it.
Yeah, he walked right by the pipe leak. But in the screenplay, they're in their shed. That's kind of their soundproof area. It's not their basement. So, like I said, in the screenplay, they're in their shed, and instead, the monster hits the side of the shed and knocks over their like 10-gallon water supply.
Yeah.
So there's like water dripping, and then the creature hears that. So that sucks. They lose their water supply, but I just
because John, he was trying to save it, but the plastic that the water was hit was louder than it when it hit dirt.
Right.
So
either way, it was just
I
interesting how
can't
the water drip played a part in both and still would attract the monster. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Just another
and a toilet flushing.
Yeah, right.
As they mentioned, you can't flush the toilet. That sucks, everybody. That really sucks.
Yeah, this was kind of funny So the biohazard bag, it just said that she went into the basement and they apparently just dug a huge hole and they were just pitching these bags in a huge hole.
Hell yeah, man.
That would smell awful, dude.
Dig it up, boom, boom. Dig it. No, I mean don't dig it up.
That's some good fertilizer.
So to wrap up really quick, what just last minute thoughts? Did you like the film? Did you like the script? Which one did you like more? Just really quick.
I honestly, we'll vent a little bit here. I was, of course, movie. I'm always the movie guy visually. I've never been a big reader, but just noticing the big changes that it went throughout. But I also like the screenplay a lot because I will alone. But noticing the movie, because personally I had no idea what the movie was even about, but when I saw it, I honestly thought it was paranormal rather than monster.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Because I just thought it was about. I thought the whole family was deaf too.
Okay.
I didn't hear much about it at all, and it completely flipped my whole mindset on it. I fell in love with it and just a movie that doesn't have that much narrative in it. They killed it.
Yeah, I think you mean it had narrative. It just didn't have dialogue. I think you mean.
Yeah.
Dialogue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. I mean, I think I can't really pick. I can't say which one I like better because, like I said earlier, I want to hear more about this universe. I want to hear more about these creatures and more storylines.
I was asking the same question.
Different people's experiences. So having the movie, which is an awesome story, and then having the screenplay, which is a story about the same kind of characters but different. So it's different. It's awesome. I mean, I want to have more different stories about this.
Right.
So hopefully, I mean, I heard Krasinski. I think Drew, you told me yesterday he's not interested in making another one.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Someone else.
I don't know if it's true, but
He's going back to the office probably.
Yeah, he's got work on Monday. He can't be making all these movies. He's got to be working at 8:30 a.m. Paper company. Yes, they gotta keep making that paper. Keep selling paper.
For me, actually, this was the first screenplay I've read where I never saw the movie first, because Matt and I, we both read the screenplay first back in April, and then we went and saw the movie, and that was an interesting experience because you're not thinking of the movie while you're reading the screenplay. This was totally opposite, so I think that's why I leaned towards the screenplay first, because that's my first what I was first introduced to. I mean, I love the story more in the screenplay, I think, and what I mean by that is just the tension between the characters, and also I like how they highlighted the dual meaning of the title, A Quiet Place, also being that the wife explicitly says to the father that why don't you talk to us? And this is in a flashback. Why don't you talk to us anymore? You go to your own quiet place and you just go away. And that was kind of cool because in the film you don't get that at all. It's just a quiet place is just this meaning of trying to evade from monsters, and whereas in the screenplay it's more than a monster movie. It's more of a family, with issues.
Right? Yeah, they present you like this family. Yes. They present you a family dilemma in the screenplay that so many people can relate to, because everyone has issues with their family when you don't want to talk it out, you don't want to work it out, but I guess the movie kind of it ties all that in there, and it just gives it a little more heart, I guess. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and that must have been hard for the writers to let go of that part.
Yeah, for real.
For the film.
Very true.
I mean,
because it is more powerful to me. Right. That ending when the dad made his sacrifice, it was much more powerful in the screenplay than it was in the movie.
Absolutely. But I mean, they had to do what they had to do to get the movie made. Yeah. I mean,
that's the goal. Get it made.
What Michael Bay wants, you do. I'm surprised there wasn't that many explosions.
He got fireworks. They're like, Michael, we'll give you fireworks. He was like, I'm not too happy about this, but fine.
What if instead of fireworks, he's like, no, I want the boy to go out and light like a brick of C4.
Oh my God. And that's A Quiet Place. We hope you enjoyed it. Like we said earlier, There was an abundance of content to discuss that could have led us in numerous directions, so this was easily the most difficult episode we've recorded thus far during our young beginning. I know I'm speaking for Matt and Bryan when I say thank you to all of you for sticking with us during these growing pains as we solidify an identity and voice for this show. No matter what platform you're using to listen to us, I just want it to be known that we're currently on Spreaker and YouTube, so if you like our content, please be sure to follow our channels so you can stay in the loop with new episodes. Also, feel free to leave us comments or send us an email at screenplayjunkie.show@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. I just want to say, my brothers and I, and other future guests on this show, we're just people who love movies. We're not experts. I know I've identified myself as a screenwriter of the program, and at this point in my career, none of my scripts have been produced. I'm just a guy trying to figure out the craziness of quality storytelling. However, one of my short scripts that I submitted to a screenplay contest was accepted as a semifinalist into their film festival. So shout out to the Lake Charles Film and Music Festival down in Louisiana for the support. It's nice to hear that strangers out there in the industry like my writing. On the next episode, we're going to do something different. We're going to be taking a look at a script that unfortunately never got made, based off the classic Xbox first-person shooter, Halo. We hope you can join us.